Hello and welcome to One Indian News. I am Akash, and nearly after 15 months of protesting at the borders of Delhi, be it at the Singhu border or at the Tikri border, the Farmers Union have finally decided to call off their protest, which I told you 15 months back. They started off this whole protest against. Firstly, it was against the three farm laws, which were definitely, there was a lot of issue. There were, I think, 12, 11 rounds of talk between the government and the farmer union, but it was in a stalemate. And after that, there was no talk between the two parties. And then at Prakash Parv today, not today, this year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that because we were not able to uh, make understand of these three farm laws and their benefits to a section of farmers, then we have decided that the government will repeal these three farm laws. And on the very first day of the winter session of the parliament, both the houses basically said they passed the bill which was there to repeal the three farm laws. And now officially, after the president's signature, they have been called off. And after that, there were a few other demands. And after that, the government, in a written assurance to these farmers, have said that they will definitely talk about MSP and the electricity draft bill. And further, there are many few more demands of the farmers that the government will talk upon. And after that, today, the farmers have said that they have officially called off their protest after 15 months. What is going to happen that today they are going to have a prayer at both Singhu and Tikri border, and post that on the December 11th, which is the Saturday at around 9 p.m. They will start their victory march back to Punjab and to other places from where all these farmers have come and protesting against these free farm laws. To talk on more this issue, I have senior correspondent Vicky Najapa with me. Vicky, welcome once again. And
Thank you.
today is a very interesting day for India. In fact, because after 15 months, these three farm laws that have been kind of a not a I would say an issue not only for the government, only for the farmers, but for lakhs and lakhs of people who are living at in Delhi. It has been an issue for them also, because these farmers have been sitting at the borders, just blocking the borders. And in fact, the Supreme Court themselves asked these farmers, because that they have stayed on these three bills, they should go back home, but they did not do that. But now finally they have said that now we are going back home. How do you see this, the whole year, or the whole year long event? How do you see this?
I think a lot of issues could have been avoided in this. Especially I begin with when it turned violent on Republic Day last year. I mean, that was pretty scary and a very untoward incident. Okay, finally, it's good that both sides have come to some kind of a conclusion. And while it is equally important that demands should be heard and met, it is also equally important that it should not cause any inconvenience to the public. That is one of the most important things. Like as you were pointing out, that it is quite a nightmare to travel on those roads. If there could be emergencies, etc., or no emergency also, but it is still a nightmare to travel. See, at the moment, it is, I wouldn't say a victory for any party or anything. I mean, I'm just saying that a long standing issue has been resolved at the end of it. And okay, let's also keep in mind that farm laws were never, they were never enforced, because, there was a stay of the Supreme Court also. But the farmers did not feel that that was enough of an assurance, and they wanted an assurance from the government, because uh, they are the ones who make the laws at the end of it. And in Supreme Court it can drag on and on and on, forever, because center wouldn't have yielded a bit, and the farmers wouldn't have. So it would have been a never-ending this one. I think this thing of what the Prime Minister did. He took into account a lot of things. If you remember the address that day. Uh, although it did not spell it out in as many words, he said that they're being repealed and uh, sorry for any inconvenience. And he clearly said that he was not able to convince the farmers about the benefits of these bills. So that was one thing. But there were also a lot of other issues, which are coming up. The incident that happened at Lakhimpur Kheri, that was one thing which played on the mind, because that also went horribly wrong, like how it happened on Republic Day. That is one. And also the other fact that it would have over a period of time started becoming a law and order issue. Okay, law and order issue. And also, let's not forget that when there is a commotion like this, while the protest may be genuine in nature, but there will also be these elements who will try and agitate and make sure that the law and order situation goes out of control. And you did not want that happening in UP, which is going in for such a crucial election, next early next year. So that's what the long and short of it is.
Correct. And Vicky, you pointed out very correctly that even many corridors after the Prime Minister announced that on Prakash Parv that we were not able to convince a few lot of the farmers about this whole issue. Many people said that there was a lot of law and order issue also involved in this. There was a lot of intelligence input that if this protest drags along longer, then there could be some law and order issues. So, but the question arises that from day one, there were a lot of speculations being thrown that there could be a possibility of Khalistani outfits hijacking this. There was a lot of commotion on the 26th of January when a lot of people pointed out that there were Khalistani flags also there during the protest that was happening at the Lal Killa on the Republic Day. So do you think that the government took it stressed it a bit too much in terms of that? Maybe they could have set across the table on the 26th of January itself, 2 days after that, and told the farmers, okay, let's talk. Because those talks, 11 rounds of talks fell, and after that only the 26/11 to 26 January incident happened.
Yeah, see, there was one issue with the talk. See, Akash, now once you get a bill passed in Parliament, no, it's not, it really doesn't look good if you just repeal it in the next 15 days just because someone is demanding for it. The thing is, where I thought, that the talks were being inconclusive, basically. Government was ready to listen. They were also ready to talk. But, there was a condition from farmers that you first repeal the law and then we'll start talking. One. And the government was saying, we will first talk, we will not repeal the law. So that is where it was hitting a kind of a dead end. That is one thing. And coming to the point of the security point of view, the security point of view is that, see, I'm not even, trying to suggest, that, some pro-Khalistani person was sitting in that protest or something. But then you could have seen the kind of narrative which has been drummed up in Canada, UK, and, all those places where an SDF, a Six for Justice, and their
PFI.
leader, yes, no, SDF.
SDF,
The
right? And
six,
of course,
yeah.
we also saw a lot of Bhindranwala posters there during the protests also.
See, that's the whole issue. This was not about Khalistan or Bhindranwale or anything of that sort, but there are elements, who will try and use it to provoke. And, it is just two, three elements are good enough, just start and it can all go haywire. Okay, that is one thing. So these were also issues. So finally, it's, good that they've come to some common ground, and they have made, six demands which government has agreed to. That is, compensation to all families. Now that was not part of the written assurance today because it was mentioned that Haryana and UP, those governments will look after the compensation. No criminal liability to any of the farmers. Yes, withdrawal of all agitation related cases, and then government has to discuss the electricity amendment bill with the SKM before bringing it up in Parliament. That is also agreed upon. Committee to discuss MSP to be formed. Ongoing policy on MSP and procurement in the country will continue as it is. So that's how it stands. And a letter has gone there. This one, and now they're saying that they will vacate the Delhi borders from December 11th onwards. So that's how it stands there. And government handed over the letter, the promise of forming a committee on the MSP and withdrawing of cases immediately. As far as matter of compensation is concerned, UP and Haryana government has given their consent in principle. So this is
Correct.
how it stands. Yeah. All's well
Correct.
that ends well. So yeah.
All's well that ends well. But now
Yeah.
the question arises, Vicky, like, okay, the farmers' protest took a whole 1 year, and the funny part is that they sat during the second wave of the virus.
Yeah. Correct. That's
So
right.
when the second wave of the virus was there, they sat there, they were protesting, and everything was happening. Now, the what do you think would be the outcome of this thing? Because the topic that we're discussing, that who won in this kind of a standoff? Did the government win? Did the farmers win? Because at the end of the day, the poorest of the poor farmer, for whom the government says that this bill was for them, in order to gain a much more better prices for their crops, and of course they can always shift from one mandi to another mandi in a different state also if they found a better price. But now what happens is that everything is back to
The
square one.
middleman. Yeah.
Exactly, the middleman is still there. So who does this benefit? The government didn't benefit out of it anything. The middle, it's only the middleman who, it's so out and out, should we say, the corruption won in this whole situation.
See, that's one thing, one thing which actually struck me very strongly when this farmer bill was introduced was about, the agriculturist or the farmer being able to sell directly in the market and not go through a middleman. Now, that looks very, very lucrative and it is very good. But one more thing is there, Akash, to put it in principle, in the sense, to go and do it, it is a little difficult. I think there should have been more clarity on that front. Okay, so there should have been more clarity on that front. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if this was a thing which they were suggesting and which was part of the law, and if it had gone through, and that process over a period of time started saying, I have my produce and I don't want to sell it through a middleman. Say, I have some coffee, I want to sell it directly to someone directly. Definitely, I would have got a better pricing. But the problem begins is, do I have that infrastructure on my own to do it? That is one. Maybe a big farmer, with the holding of, say, 1,000 acres or 1,000 hectares of land or something, he may be already following that system because he's got the infrastructure. I think that was a point which should have been better explained, because this looked as a long-term reform, and I think they were thinking of their immediate this one produce. How do you go about it? How do you do it? So there, I thought that convincing could have been a little more better on that front. But definitely, now the middleman is back. It's as it stands, status quo,
Exactly,
and they
status
are
quo.
and they are very powerful. Akash, I know that. Yeah,
Yeah, because for the past 1 year, they have been able to drag along this whole protest. So yeah,
correct.
they are powerful enough to lobby for themselves, and that we have seen. And of course, I think keeping in mind the Punjab election just coming just round the corner, and UP elections also, the government don't want to go about and losing one of the biggest vote banks that they have. Of course, that is there. Everybody who understands politics, they do understand that farmers are the biggest vote bank when it comes to states like Punjab and Uttar Pradesh. So you don't want to lose that kind of a big, vote bank. But coming back to the question is that, do you think that because soon after the Prime Minister said that we're going to repeal these farm laws, there was a huge hue and cry about the CA and NRC bills. Owaisi said this thing that we will sit down on a dharna now for a year long and we will repeal these CA and NRC. Do you think the government somewhat, do you think they have seen this thing coming? Because of course, the advisors would have told the Prime Minister that, okay, if you take this kind of a step, the voices against the NRC and the CA are going to rise. But do you think the government is ready to take those strict steps to curb if anything that kind of a thing happened? Because let's be very honest, the Shaheen Bagh protest did not. The government has nothing to do with that. It was only the coronavirus that came. It was the first wave, and nobody knew anything about the virus. So yes, there was a panic amongst the people, and they said, okay, let's run away from this thing. So that was the main reason the Shaheen Bagh protest, was called off. What do you think will happen if, in the future, what would be the future plan? Because I think they might be just planning something.
See, I'll be very honest about this, Akash. The thing is, what now? See, Farmer, when you say no, you can't define him just as a Punjab farmer or a UP farmer. Okay, now the thing is, if you see that, if a farmer out here feels that, the government is being a little too excessive against, farmers, be it anywhere, somewhere he will start identifying himself with all those farmers. That is one thing. And 60% of the population are farmers in this country, so that's a big thing. And NRC,
Exactly.
again, yeah. Yes, even I thought about it, when he announced the repeal of the farm bills. Actually, I actually thought, now it may begin, for Article 370, then it may start for NRC and all that. Nothing is going to happen on that front. There is going to be nothing that is going to happen on the front, because I still believe that, this NRC and CA basically, uh, I definitely feel the need for both. Okay, there is no harm in, giving a persecuted minority, some status in your own country. Okay, it's not a bill that has been passed to take away the status of some minority in this country. And of course, those protests again, and let me tell you one thing, is catering to a very, very niche market. These so-called pseudo intellectuals, which I would say, it's catering to that. So there's nothing that is going to happen on that front. Jammu and Kashmir, Article 370 is, this one, statehood may get restored after some time, after the due election process is over. But Article 370 abrogation, that is a decision which is there to stay. There is one thing. I mean, there is no, logic in saying, that there is one state within your country which has to have a separate constitution. One, all right. And looking at the illegal immigration, these people don't seem to understand, Akash. The thing is about illegal immigration happening. We've seen the kind of land mafia which, these illegal immigrants have created in Bengal. They are, forcing the Hindu community out of Bengal there, and they've taken over so much of land. So why not an NRC? Let there be a kind of a certificate to say that, that there is a proper count, because they come, they get an Aadhaar, and they take away somebody else's subsidy. One, okay, and
Correct.
they take away somebody else's jobs. And me being in my own country, I pay my taxes here, and then why am I giving up all those benefits for an illegal immigrant who's anyway not paying any taxes? Okay, and so these are things which will not go, Akash. This is much broader. This is much broader. If it had continued, like I say, every second person in India can call himself as a farmer. Actually, so that is
even
one thing.
even Rahul Gandhi calls himself as a farmer.
Yeah, that is true. So, so it is a very broader issue there. So this had to be done. And also, coming to the politics part of it, if you see, that is a very important alliance that they're going to form, that they're forming with Captain Amrinder Singh. Okay. It's a bit of a weak state for the BJP, considering, they lost a long-standing ally in Shiromani Akali Dal.
Correct.
And one of his conditions was also that, I will form this alliance after this one. So he also played it very smartly on that front. So, but this was the long thing. I mean, it was going nowhere basically. The laws were not in force. Farmers were on the road. So it had kind of hit a status quo. So I think this was a very wise decision by both sides.
Exactly. So it's a very wise decision. But do you think the timing was a bit off for the wise decision? Because if the timing would have been much more earlier, the situation would have not been, would not be dragged so long.
That again depends, Akash. When you say timing, I mean, how long into the protest? 1 week, 2 weeks, 10 days? Too early. As I said, uh, there will be no standing at all, or there'll be no weightage of any decision taken by the parliament, because, these bills have been passed. That is a fact. They've been debated, they've been passed. Okay, that is a fact. Now, you pass a bill in the next 20 days, you withdraw it. So there will be no this one. Then can start doing it for every bill. At least now you know that you really have to sit on the road for 15 months if you have to have a bill. That I don't think many are ready to do also. That is another thing. So that's the thing,
Absolutely.
I
That's very,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Please
No,
go
no,
ahead.
it I mean, talks were going on, but each side was being a little, difficult on their stand, and that's why it dragged. We did see violence, but it could have been worse. That is another thing. It could have actually been worse. So, okay, as I said, better late than never, and all's well that ends well.
And I just want to ask one more thing from you, Vicky, that the government said that all these cases that would be against the farmers, all the criminal cases, be it in the 26th January case or be it the Lakhimpur Kheri incident, the killing of BJP workers, and of course the vice versa, the farmers who were mowed down. That case is still pending. The UP police is doing an inquiry of it, and Supreme Court from time to time always pulls up the UP police for their lackluster approach towards that case. But yeah, so what kind of a narrative does it put towards the people that you can go scot free, you can do anything, you sit on a dharna, and then after a few days, everything will be taken back. So that sets a very wrong example in terms for the people also, for the common man also, don't you think?
See, the one, Akash, there's a thin line out there. See, one, they said no criminal liability to farmers in case of stubble burning. Okay, one. Stubble
Right.
burning. That is one thing. Okay. And the second thing is withdrawal of all agitation related cases registering during this protest in all states and union territories or under central government agency. That will not cover a murder. Now, if there has been a protest and they have killed someone, they are still, liable to be, that will not fall under this habit. One.
Okay.
Now, agitation related meaning, blocking the roads, sloganeering, and, that kind of blocking police vehicles, where, they've not caused any kind of damage or harm to someone. Okay. Where there have been deaths, that will continue to be investigated as a murder only. That is one thing, as a murder case. These things, what we say, this sloganeering and blocking the road. See, blocking the road is not allowed. That is one thing. It is a criminal offense. Okay, that is one. These were some of the many cases that were filed. The thing is now, if a police is trying to barricade you and move you, okay, that also is a case. Okay, because he's saying obstructing this one. What is a government servant from doing his duty? Like you go to a traffic cop and you ask him why are you checking me. That falls under a category of obstruction from duty. So these are the kind of cases which are going to be withdrawn, not where violence happened on Republic Day, where somebody has died there, and Lakhimpur Kheri, the post that incident of the mowing down, when they killed two people, those will continue to be tried as murder cases itself.
Correct, correct. So let's hope that people don't get the wrong idea about the repeal of the cases against the farmers. It is only for those who are sitting up for agitation and all those kind of things, and not beyond that. Well. On that note, thank you very much, Vicky, for coming and sharing your time. And hopefully, we will join very soon. We'll have a discussion about what has happened in Tamil Nadu regarding CDS Bipin Rawat. Today, the mortal remains are being flown back to Delhi, and hopefully, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be there to pay his last homage to all the people who lost their lives, including General Bipin Rawat and his wife. But that we will discuss in a different edition. But for now, thank you very much, Vicky, once again for joining in and sparing your time on this issue.
Thank you, Akash. Thank you so much. Thanks.